How's it going, guys? AnxiousCynic back again with another Mine-imator tutorial. So starting off where we left off last time, we're going to go ahead and continue our Steve rig here. And we're going to get started today by making some hair and maybe some 3D clothes. Alright, so the reason we're going to do those together is because we need to set up the textures in GIMP, and it's better to do it all at once. So let's go ahead and head on into GIMP and get started. Alright, so here we are back in GIMP, and as you can see here, I have another tab up, and this is my little item sheet template thing. If you watched my custom item sheet rigging tutorial, then you may know what this is all about. If not, then I recommend going and checking that out. But for now, we're going to use this to make our item rig sheet for our Steve rig, and we're going to make this be the 3D hair as well as some of the 3D clothes we're going to do. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and copy the hair parts out. So we're going to do the same thing we did before by using the rectangular select tool here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the side here. We got to make sure that we don't go over too far. And I'm going to hold the shift key and get these extra little blocks. Kind of a little tedious trying to get it there. Boop. Should be able to, there we go. All right, and then we're just going to continue going and get all of these bits in. And I'm not going to worry about this darker spot there. I'm just going to grab these here. So what I'm going to do is go to edit and copy, and then come over here and click paste. And there we go. We have that there. And I'm going to get the move tool, and I'm going to grab this and drag it over somewhere around here, just about center on our item sheet thing there. So now I'm going to come back over here, and we're going to deselect that, say none. And then we're going to grab the front. We're basically just going to do this in the same order as we go here. So we're going to do the front, and then this side, and the back, and then we'll do the top last. So we're just going to go ahead and select all of these, if I can, like so. Then we're going to hit Control-C this time, because that's the shortcut for copy. And then we're going to hit Control-V to paste. And then we should be able, that's not the right tool, there we go. Let's grab this one. We're going to drag it over here, just like so. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of these, and then we'll continue. Alright, so here is all the pieces we need for the hair, and now we're going to go ahead and grab the clothes. And the way we're going to do the clothes is going to be a little bit different than how we did the hair, because we have to account for the bends in the clothes. So the way we're going to do that is go ahead and switch to our selection tool, and I'm going to just click over here and drag over basically half of the, it's kind of finicky the way this doesn't like to work right. Come on, man. There we go. We basically want half of the clothes. So we got to count the pixels. So you basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I guess. And then you, of course, have the pants there, but we're not going to worry about the pants. So we're basically going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and get that all the way across for each section. So this is going to be a little bit tedious. You don't have to do this if you don't want to do the bendiness to it, but I'm just going to show you. If you saw my advanced 3D character rig, then we're going to try to do something similar that I did there. So with this part selected, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control-C to copy. I'm going to hit the M key to grab my move tool and hit Control-V to paste. And we're just going to start by putting this over here. And you may notice that I'm aligning these on the bottom. I think this is the best way to do it because it gives you the rotation point closest to these items. I don't do this regularly enough to know that right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works, so bear with me. So let's go ahead and grab this one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so we should have evenness on these, and we're of course going to have to grab these bits down here, like so. And if I can grab it, there we go. Alright, so now that we've got that selected, we're going to hit Control-C, and then switch to our move tool, Control-V, and we're just going to drag it over and line it up like that. So here's the top of our shirt, here's the bottom of our shirt, and now we have to do that for the back as well as the sides. Alright, there we go. So we've got the top and the bottom of the front, we've got the top and the bottom of the back, we've got the top and the bottom of the, I don't know, left or right side, and then the top and bottom of the opposite side. So now that we've got those, we should have enough to make the 3D shirt the way we want to. And that should be it. We do have to worry about the shoulders, but the shoulders are going to be done slightly differently, so we're just going to leave that alone for now and go ahead and start building the clothes and the hair. Alright, so one thing to note here, guys, is I actually made a little bit of a mistake here, and I didn't put these on a new layer, so when I pasted these in, it applied it to the background layer here. So what we're going to do is, since this one's selected, this is the most recent one that I brought in, I'm going to go up to Layer and click on To New Layer. So now that makes that one that was selected, since that was our most recent paste, on its own layer. So when I toggle that, you'll see that it toggles it on and off. So what I'm going to have to do to fix this is I'm going to grab all these things and bring them up to the layer that we want them onto. And the way I'm going to do that is by basically just copying them all again and pasting them onto this layer. So you probably want to create a new layer before you do that. But if you've made this mistake, then this is how you should be able to correct it. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all these things, and then we'll get right back to it. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have all these elements selected. And what I want to do now is hit Control C. And then I'm going to hit Control V to copy. And then I'm going to hit Layer to New Layer. And now we have all these on their own layer. And when I get rid of this, we have these two layers that account for all of our parts, and now I can just save this out and bring it into Mine-imator. Sorry for the confusion there. You just want to have a new layer set up for all these. GIMP's kind of finicky. I'm not used to working with it that much, but that's how you can do it if you make that mistake. But I'm sure there's a better way to go about that. So now let's go ahead and save it. So we're going to go to File and Export as per usual. And then I'm going to rename this and put it in my folder. Alright guys, so back in Mine-imator, I'm going to go into our library and I'm going to find our item here and I'm going to duplicate it. We could bring in a new one, but since we already have this one, I'm just going to use it. I'm going to rename this one Hair. And we're going to go ahead and find the new texture for it. And for this one, we actually are going to use an item sheet, so we'll have to change that in a moment. But if I go ahead and click on Browse, I'm going to navigate to where we have that file and then bring it into Mine-imator. Alright, so here is our file. I'm going to click on it and open it. And as you can see, it's not in the scene, so we have to go ahead and click on this button here to bring it into the scene. And let's see if we can find it. We've got hair, and it's very small, as you can see there, because of the item sheet technique that we're using. And it looks pretty weird. So we actually, like I said, are going to have to turn Use as Sheet back on. And then when we go to Change here, we can designate which one we want to use. And as for now, we want to start with the hair there. So I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, here's our hair. And the rotation point is pretty much where we would want it to be for now, at least. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and parent it to the head of the character. Just like so. And as you can see, it's way out because we didn't have it lined up properly. And what I'm going to do is rotate this one to -90 and then bring it over. And I think what we're going to do is put this one on about -4. Is that going to be about it? We're going to be rescaling this probably, so we're going to see how that goes for us. As you can see, it's too far down. We want to raise this up, so we're going to bring it up to about 1 on the Z to line it up with how it's supposed to be. And we'll go from there with that. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and bring in the other elements. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this one. And I'm going to change it since we have the item sheet. And I'm just going to change it to the next part. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that for each one. Like, so we just go ahead and have it in. And that way we don't have to keep going over this step over and over until we get all the parts in. We'll just go ahead and get all the parts ready and then put it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on this button for each of these to bring it into the scene, and voila. Now we're just going to take all these parts and parent them to the head, like so. We're probably actually going to end up parenting these to one of the hair bits, but we'll go with this for now and see what we get. Alright, so now they're all parented to the head, and we can begin to set this up. Now we could obviously rename some of these, because we definitely don't want to get confused about what's what, and I think this one is the hair back, and this one's going to be the hair top, I think. If you're confused by this, it's because I'm basically looking at the shape here. This is going to be hair left, and the original one's going to be hair right. This is going to be hair front, and hair right. So that way we know what all these pieces are as we're going to put them together. So let's go ahead and get the top lined up. As you can see, it's way down here, so we're going to go ahead and pop this up a little bit. and we're going to rotate it forward, just say 90 degrees, and we're going to have to try to line this up a bit. We should be pretty good there. Let's go ahead and bring it up to 8, and we want to bring it back here to, I guess that's going to be about -4. And we're going to try to size all this up and make it look better, but for now, this is what we're going to be working with, so just bear with it. This is probably going to be -4 on here as well, so Control A and do that. And then, let's see, this one needs to be rotated this way, so we're going to do 90 degrees and bring it out. I think that's +4 if it's the same as the other one. And then we're going to raise the Z up to 1, just like the other one. Then we're going to grab the hair front and bring that forward. That's going to be a +4. And then we're going to have to raise it up quite a bit here. That's going to be probably, I guess, +4, maybe +5. There we go. And there's your hair. Like, you could leave it like this, except for the Z fighting. We might want to scale that. If you want like dimension to the hair like that, generally I try to get it where it's all square. Unfortunately, that's a little bit more of a challenge than you might think, but we could leave it like this and have it be, just as is. If I click on this one, I can go ahead and scale it. We're probably going to scale it on the X a little bit. So we'll just go like, say, 1.15. Is that too much? Might be a bit too much. Yeah, we're going to go 1.1. We'll just try that. I'm just going to leave it like this for the simplicity of it. But you could definitely try to rescale these. Like, you could scale the top one out here on the Y, or on the Z and X, depending on what your settings are, and try to square this all up. For now, like, this is not really how I've done rigs before, so I'm going to leave it like this just to see what the result is, how we like it. Of course, it is a bit thick looking to me, so what I might do actually is thin up the hair a little bit on the axes that control this. So I'm going to just say, maybe we'll go, I wonder if 0.5 will work. Let's try 0.5 on this and see what we get. 0.5, not 1.5, 0.5, there we go. Same here, we're gonna go 0.5, 0.5, and then you could actually do differently on the back or something, give them like longer hair here and there or something like that. But I think this looks okay. However we want to do it, looks fine with me, I think. And we might scale this one just slightly up on the, what is it gonna be, our Z? Yeah, just slightly on the Z, maybe about 1.05, something like that, and drag it down just ever so slightly, about -0.5 or maybe 0.5, just like that. And that way we can have it stick down here and not have that Z clipping and fighting going on. And there you go. That's obviously sticking up a bit there in the back. You may want to correct that just a tad here. Basically, you can just finagle that into place however you want. You may not want to scale it and worry about the Z fighting. I just kind of am a stickler about it, so that's what I do. I just drag it down a little bit manually there. And yeah, there we go. So there's the 3D hair on Steve, and I think it looks a little bit better when you scale that in and don't make it look so thick. But it depends on what kind of hair you want and how you want to go about it. So again, for this, if you... Oh, actually, these are sticking out too far now. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. There we go, guys. Looks like that's all set up. And there's your 3D hair. All right, so similarly to how we did the eyelids, I'm going to go ahead and select all of our hair parts, just like so. And then I'm going to hit the folder icon and name it 3D... Oops. Good God, I can't type. 3D hair. And then now we only have that one element here that is the 3D hair element. So I can grab that folder and, whoops, click on it and then drag all of it around. And it all looks perfectly good. And we can animate it and stuff and if we wanted to. And there you go. All right, so now for the 3D clothes, we're going to go ahead and get into that. So I'm going to take our 3D hair here and duplicate it in our library. I'm going to rename it and type in 3D clothes, I guess. And we're going to change the item to the first one, which is the shirt top. And let's go ahead and duplicate it and bring in all the parts just like we did before. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to do is show you guys how to do the front, and then I'll go ahead and do the rest off screen so that it doesn't take forever. I'm just going to give you guys the idea of how you might do this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring these two elements into the scene and parent them to Steve's character. So we're going to go ahead and parent it to the body just by grabbing them and dragging them up, or you can go over here to the menu as I have done numerous times in this tutorial. And we're going to call this one front top, and the other one is going to be front bottom. And what we're going to do is you'll notice that the parent here, it says upper half is checked, but this is the bottom, so we don't want that. We want this one to be parented to the lower half, so by unchecking this, it will parent it to the lower half of Steve's body. So hopefully if we did this right, we'll get the results we want. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and drag this forward. I think it's going to be a +2 to line this up pretty much exactly. And we're going to do the same for this one. We're going to bring it out to +2. And as you can see, that doesn't line up perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it up. That's going to be +1 on the Z. And then this one. So as you can see, when we click on these, the seam is right there together. All right, so now that we've got this all parented and put together, we want to actually change something. So for this one, we want the rotation point to be at the bottom, but for the top, we actually want it to be at the top. So we're going to have to change the rotation point, and then we'll readjust this to be how we want it to be. So I'm going to bring this down, and I think it's going to be about 5, since it's 5 pixels. And then we're going to have to bring the Z up to 6, I believe, and that should make it exactly where we want it to be. That's going to line it up. And the reason we want the rotation point to be at the top for this one and the bottom for this one is because when we bend Steve, we want to be able to scale this so that we can hide the gap. So I'm going to go ahead and take Steve and just bend him backwards for the purpose of this. And what we want to do is not have this look like his shirt splits in half, right? So what we're going to do is scale the Z like so. It looks like maybe 1.4 should do it, something like that. And then we can scale the bottom one to come up. That might not be quite enough. We'll try at 1.025 or something. Basically, you would just want to, get some numbers on these of how they line up the best. And then that way, when Steve does this, I think I actually messed up on the number of pixels that I have. I think I should have gone like 6 here and then 5 on the bottom again or something. I may have gotten the dimensions wrong. So I highly recommend testing the bend and seeing how many pixels are. Like if we go, let's go ahead and do this. You can see the pixels here right there where the sharp bend is. So you can count the pixels on a shirt to see how many you need when you go to make the 3D clothes that you're going to be making. There also is the issue if you do round bending on your Steve character. Let's see if we can go ahead and check this. So if we go to round bending, then it's not going to work quite as well with round bending because you have that roundness. That doesn't mean that the clothes won't work at all, but the sharp bending will help to keep there from being like a gap in between. But yeah, you may want to go 6 pixels on that top part instead of 5. I recommend, just playing with it and seeing what you can get. But this could definitely work. It's just not 100% set. Let's see if we can get in here. And let's see if I back this up. I could obviously fix this by just scaling the bottom a little bit more than the top one. Not sure exactly how far we want to go. Maybe about 5 or 4 or 5, something like that. And then we'll scale this one to meet that. If I can select it properly. 4, 5, something, 4, 6. And you just keep kind of mess with it until you get the dimensions just right. And as you can see, it still looks like a normal bend there. So if you don't get it 100%, it's not like it's not usable. You can still do that. And that's how you would get 3D clothes and still maintain your bendiness by doing the thing that we did before. I'm just undoing all this real quick. There we go. Now Steve is standing upright. And as you can see, he has the 3D shirt going there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together for the rest of Steve, and I will be right back. All right, guys, so I went ahead and just did the back. I'm going to leave the sides alone because it's the same process, but I just wanted to show it like this. And you may also choose not even to do the sides. You may not even worry about it. It's really up to you what you think looks good and what doesn't. I think if you look at my 3D advanced character rig, then I do have the sides and everything done, and it's just the same process. You want to parent it and set up the rotation point for the top to be at the top, for the bottom one to be at the bottom, but it should be by default, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. And you just want to line them up properly and whatnot. So we've got the front and the back, and we can bend Steve, and we would just have to scale those things appropriately. You can watch my tutorial for my 3D advanced character rig to understand this a bit more. I think I may have explained it a little bit more in detail there. And if you wanted to, you could download that rig and get the item sheet that I use for the clothes and then just manipulate those textures to make your own 3D clothes without having to go through the whole process that I did here. Because when you download that rig, it'll come with that item sheet file. So now to get 3D shoulders, we're going to do a little bit of a different method, and that is to use a map texture for the cube. So you have the cube here, and then you may notice this little button down here that says mapped texture. If I click on that, then you'll get this button that says export map, and I'll go get the image real quick to show you guys exactly what that provides. All right, so here's your map texture image, and you have the front, left, right, back, top, bottom. So with a 3D cube like this that's just plain white, it's kind of hard to know exactly what part is what on it, unless maybe you have some knowledge of that stuff and it just kind of comes intuitively to you. But when I first messed with this, I just kind of had to do some trial and error. So I'll show you the image that I made to make the shoulders. All right, guys, so here's the image that I made, and this is basically just the shoulder texture blown up to the resolution, because this is actually a much higher resolution than the Steve character rig. So I had to kind of finagle with it and get it to be equal. And what we'll do is we're going to put in a cube and then give it this mapped texture. So let's head back into Mine-imator and I'll show you guys how this works. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is go up here and just bring in a new cube, and I'm going to say that I want it to be a mapped texture, and I'm going to go and browse for the texture that I showed you guys a moment ago. So here's our texture, and I'm going to open it, and as you'll see, when we bring in the cube, it's basically a giant shoulder. And yeah, that doesn't look too right. It looks a little bit weird. So let's go ahead and rename this. I'm actually going to rename it as well in here. Let's go ahead to this, and we're going to call it shoulders, something like that. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to parent it to Steve. I'm actually going to parent this one to, let's just say, his right arm. We'll start with that one. And as you can see there, that looks kind of weird, but we're going to see what we can do with that. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm probably going to try, let's see, we're going to put it on a custom rotation point. And what I want to do is bring it over, I think I'm going to have it over here on this corner. So that's going to be about +8 on that. And what we have here also for the hierarchy, we have the parent set to the lower half. We don't want that. We want it to be parented to the upper half. So I'm going to uncheck that, and that's going to make this parented to Steve's upper arm area, which is what we want. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and scale this down just a ways. We're going to just say maybe 0.25, and that may actually make it the exact size of his shoulder. I'm not 100% sure. It looks like that may be the case. So we're going to bring it down to -2, and then it's probably going to be -2, or I guess +2 on the X there. And as you can see, that's the same exact thing as his shoulder. If I come up here and I'm going to get rid of it, then you'll see that it's like no different. Same exact texture, same exact size. So what I want to do actually now is scale that up a bit. And what you'll see is, since we have the rotation point here, it's only scaling it up and out, since it's not going to scale it downwards or into the body. That's one of the reasons I did that, is so that we can scale it more easily. And you'll see that you have now this kind of 3D looking shoulder. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and duplicate this shoulder. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to say I want it to be on the left arm. And since I did it that way, it's going to keep that lower half off. And now we just need to change the rotation point on the X to be on the -8 to put it on that side. And then we're going to move this back this way, and it's going to be about -2 to line up there. So now we have 3D shoulders, 3D hair, 3D shirt. I'm pretty sure this texture is supposed to line up this way. If not, you could do 2 separate cubes. Let's go ahead, get rid of that. Okay, we may have to rotate this or something, but it really depends on how accurate you want the textures to be. For me, I don't really have much of an issue with this, so I'm just going to leave it as is. But of course, again, this texture here that I use for this cube will be included in the 3D character rig. If you go back and watch that video and download that, then you'll get this mapped cube texture, and you can see all the stuff that I did to make that one, this going into how I'm showing you here. So if you want to get those files out of that character rig, then feel free to get them and use them and customize them for your own skins or however you want to do it. In any case, guys, that's going to be it for this tutorial. We covered how to do 3D hair and 3D clothes. I hope it wasn't too confusing, and sorry for some of the little errors that I ran into. But like I said, I don't do this all the time. This is basically just the little things that I've learned along the way, and I'm still kind of clunky at it myself. So anyway, I hope it was helpful to you guys, or at least, once again, inspiring in some way. If it was, feel free to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to become a citizen today. Share it with your friends and your family and your pets. Feel free to check out that Patreon link in the description if you want to support me more directly. But otherwise, that's going to be it. So thanks for joining me, guys, and I will see you in the next video.